attended his school's senior prom with his mother. Upon arriving, one of his gal pals saw this and felt sorry for him, so she asked him for a dance.
To be one with my crowd, I bought a pair of tickets, but I went there with my mother. But then I realized I was thrown out because I showed up more like a lonesome wallflower. But that night, my twisted peppermint patty type gal pal, Tiffany Gowan, asked me to dance with her. I hesitated at first, but she grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor. We danced for several hours.
In April, the 18-year-old began a self-documentary project for class titled A Week with Christian Chandler. It provides valuable insight to everyday life during those high school years, as he admits to falling asleep in classes on a regular basis. It also notes that he attends several behavioral adjustment programs and proceeds to document several of his creations. Most notable is the City Room, which is an early version of what would later be known as Hulkville. It is a miniature city made from the pieces of Chris's various Lego kits and other memorabilia. It was here that he revealed that his family was moving back to their house in Rutgersville. According to Chris, his parents had failed to sell the home and would have stayed in Richmond had they succeeded. On June 15th, Christian graduated from Manchester High School. In spite of placing on the honor roll, for Chris the celebration was not ceremonious. Before receiving their diplomas, an award ceremony was held to recognize the school's gifted students. Chris became jealous after not being given an award for his art class assignments.
During the early award ceremony, I was a little thrilled to get a star for my grades. But then I find out that I'm outshined in my creative skills because those people do not appreciate the time and effort I took into making Sonichu. I was a high-functioning autistic boy who came way beyond out of his social shell, only to get zilch, nada, sip, a big fat zero.
When it came time to actually receive his diploma, Chris went up without making eye contact with anyone, going so far as to slap away the presenter's hand when they reached out for a congratulatory handshake. He then ran off and found a table isolated enough to cry alone. It wasn't simply jealousy that had overwhelmed him that day, but rather the realization he was leaving behind the, quote, best circle of friends he ever had. As mentioned before, Chris seldom hung out with his gal pals outside of high school, and the end of his time at Manchester largely meant the end of his social life as he knew it. The high school graduation has since become a point of trauma for Chris, as he felt it marked the end of the best years of his life. The thing is, what he remembers from his high school years is an extremely romanticized version of events that didn't include the manipulation those around him participated in to help him make it through. He fondly recalls being an honor roll student, though teachers often gave him higher grades than he probably deserved. He liked to see himself as an engaged pupil, though slept through many of his classes. He had friendships, but they always seemed to end when the bell rang. Speaking of friends, let's take for example one of Chris's gal pals from middle school, the girl next door who would often hang out with him at the bus stop near their home. Chris interpreted their time together as genuine camaraderie, when in fact she had been paid by Bob to essentially babysit him. On top of this, there has been speculation that his father had a meeting with the principal of Manchester High, which resulted in school staff bringing together upstanding girls in Chris's grade to befriend and protect him from the horrors of high school, meaning that the gal pals were also a result of behind-the-scenes meddling by his parents. Perhaps what makes this period of life so mesmerizing to Chris is that it was a time of innocence, when he was still largely getting away with being oblivious to the world, an era where his parents could still feasibly shelter him as he developed an over-reliance on children's entertainment to compensate. And no matter how superficial the relationships were, they still were friendships to him. His gal pals were the one thing standing between Chris and solitude. After high school, as Chris had guessed, he'd lose contact with them, but most could have never guessed how far he would descend into isolation. The weather was dark and rainy that graduation day as the now adult Chris sobbed by himself on his graduation day. When Barbara and Tiffany found him, they comforted the emotional young man. His father, however, was less forgiving with how his son had behaved. Perhaps he read the writing on the wall then and there, and realized the futility of his family's future. Now out of high school, Chris finally had the independence that's afforded to adults. With his free time, Chris began volunteering as an assistant Pokemon gym leader at the local Toys R Us trading card club in Charlottesville. According to first-hand accounts, he often attempted to use his homemade Pokemon cards in regular play, which were unbalanced and overpowered. Christian also launched SonicChew.com, though it was largely neglected. His family, now back under the same roof, began attending the newly established Grace Baptist Church, and in August, Chris began his first year at Piedmont, Virginia Community College. He was set to graduate with an associate's degree in 2 years. With all of his high school friends left behind, Chris found solace in his artwork, and that winter crafted his very first, now iconic, Sonic Chew medallion using Crayola model magic. Originally decorated with a makeshift chain, this was later replaced with a higher quality necklace he'd bought from the mall. The medallion was intended to serve as a name tag, something that would help him stand out in public. And that December, Chris designed a companion character for Sonic Chew named Rose Chew, a rather blatant derivative of the Sonic character Amy Rose. In August of 2001, Christian began working his first and to date only conventional job. He was hired at the local Wendy's, but had a difficult time maintaining this employment, only lasting approximately a month and a half before being fired. Unlike high school, the employees at the fast food chain were critical of him and made their frustrations known in a very patronizing manner. The exact circumstances of which he was fired are unclear, though there are 2 incidents often credited as being the last straw. The first claims that Chris was terminated for drawing a picture of an older female coworker as a Pokemon, which they found deeply offensive. The second excuse that Chris told himself involved his attempts to entertain a little boy with his parents, where he performed an impression of the character Donald Duck. This scared the child, causing him to cry. It's approximated that Chris earned around $500 from his employment at Wendy's. In June of 2002, he stopped volunteering as a Pokemon gym leader at the local Toys R Us, opting to play at the locally owned hobby shop known as the Game Place every Friday. As Chris proceeded through college, he began to appreciate all the moments he'd taken for granted back in high school. In February of 2003, he wrote a fond account of his 18th birthday party, a stark contrast to what would happen on his next birthday only 2 weeks later. That year, on his 21st special day, Chris was reading Peter Robinson's Wednesday's Child for an English class. What made this class memorable was that homosexuality had come up during group discussion, something that Chris thought of as revolting at the time due to his religious beliefs. As a result, he made derogatory comments towards homosexuals, and was promptly told to leave. What exactly was said has never been revealed, but Chris himself described them as, quote-unquote, exclamations you'd likely hear from a black person in church. Given the punishment, most surmise his assertions must have been rather severe, and after being told to leave, Chris once again sat by himself and cried. The only difference this time was that there was no one there to comfort him. Whether or not Chris outright quit the class by choice or was forced to leave is unclear, but this would set a bad precedent for the rest of his college career. This incident would mark the beginning of a new saga in Chris's life, one that would lead him not to just be eventually expelled from his college entirely, but to infamy. It was that day, right after he was ejected from English class, that he began his love quest. You see, since he had no one to console him for the first time in his life, it led Chris to realize that he should pursue a romantic relationship, to fill the now empty hole in his emotional support network. But to discover his soulmate, and perhaps even one day bear his child, he had to go back to the drawing board. Throughout April of 2003, Chris began depicting romance using his Sonic Chew characters. He created the Hedgehogs in Love Pokemon card before quickly succeeding it with the short story Sonic Chew and Rose Chew, the genesis of the Love Hogs. The story ends with Sonic Chew and Rose Chew gazing at the moon before locking eyes and sharing a passionate kiss. But it wasn't until August that his desperation for intimacy began to materialize in the real world. As Chris entered his 4th year at the 2-year community college, he officially began his search for a sweetheart. Rather than ask them out directly, though, that month, Chris made his first attraction sign to get the attention of a boyfriend-free girl. On it, the romantically challenged man describes not just himself, but also the qualities he wished for his significant other.
21 and single white male. shy, smart, young at heart, computer skilled, humorous, a great thinker and go-getter, enjoys good parts of life, diplomatic, peaceful, very creative, seeking a cute 18 to 21 single female companion who is 18 to 21 years of age and does not already have a boyfriend. Average to slender, body type, white, lives in the Charlottesville or Ruckersville area, does not smoke or drink alcohol, happy, positive personality, average or high income, drives a vehicle. If any man read this huge sign, mind your own business. And to all men with girlfriends, except married and blacks who jump off a cliff, have a nice day.
For the next 2 months, Chris would tape the sign to the wall of the college's lobby, often waiting somewhere beside it. However, his plans would be thwarted when on October 7th, Mary Lee Walsh, the Dean of Student Services, approached him, confiscated his sign, and bluntly told him to stop. Chris interpreted her authoritative command as very violent, claiming she had exclaimed, "You're not allowed to find true love here." Determined, Chris stubbornly created another attraction sign, only for Mary to confiscate it again a few weeks later. This temporarily led Chris to return to venting his frustrations into his art, at least for the next few months. In November, Chris wrote a poem titled "The Saddest Heart in the World."
Come with the Backstreet Boys, come and see my lonesome crew. Tell me why I'm stuck as a virgin grave. Tell me why I so need a cute girl my age. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I have a boyfriend.
These lyrics would later be used in the song "So Need a Cute Girl," a track from Christian's cover album Christian and the Hedgehog Boys, which he'd begun recording at the end of that summer. This song would later become a massive hit online, with dozens of covers existing across multiple platforms. But regardless of the quality of his Backstreet Boys parody, Mary Lee Walsh still had a sign. So to occupy Chris's time, he began investing all of his effort playing the game Animal Crossing. This would eventually culminate into what's now known as his Animal Crossing documentary, an hour-long showcase of his in-game village. This would become one of Christian's greatest accomplishments, as he submitted it to the Nintendo Power magazine and managed to actually get featured. Some claim it was the first Let's Play ever made, though this is difficult to prove. On January 1st, 2004, Chris wrote in his diary about his New Year's resolution to get a romantic partner.
My one resolution is to get myself a matching girlfriend. Rather, it will happen if something else. I plan to try again at PVCC.
And try again he did, with his stubbornness only further escalating the conflict. A few weeks into the new year, he wrote a poem titled "Blood Love Quest," in which he once again laments being quote-unquote a virgin with rage. Christian's frustration with his lack of romantic success was ever growing, and this new effort to overcome Mary Lee Walsh at PCC meant trying new strategies. Instead of restraining himself to just carrying signs, the college student now began repurposing the Sonic 2 newsletter into a means of attracting boy-friendly girls. From this point forward, every newsletter would end with a description of his ideal sweetheart. He includes this disclaimer.
Christian is a very shy and very thoughtful person, and will only accept person-to-person encounters, no emails or phone calls. So if you are interested, they can be found around Cleveland, Virginia Community College or Fashion Square Shopping Center.
In addition to passing around photocopies of his pamphlets, he also began hanging up more attraction signs around school, quickly replacing them whenever torn down. In late January, as Chris stood near his sign per usual, Mary Lee Walsh decided that enough was enough. It was finally time to put an end to his disobedience. According to Chris, she approached him stating that his posters were bothering both her and the student body. Chris responded that he was on his love quest, prompting her to rip his sign from his hands and tear it apart. She then lectured him, stating he would never get a girlfriend this way, before demanding that he stop his behavior immediately. She ended the confrontation by scheduling Chris to attend a meeting to discuss the string of incidents. On February 1st, Chris initiated an email exchange with Miss Walsh, attempting to avoid the meeting through a compromise. He promised her that he wouldn't hang any more signs around campus, so long as she allowed him to continue distributing his newsletter. He also assures that he would move her up his scale of respect by 2 points. About 48 hours later, Miss Walsh would unequivocally deny his request, requiring that they meet the following week. While what exactly occurred during this meeting is uncertain, a few key details are known. At one point, Chris talked with Sonic Chew as if he was real, claiming to Miss Walsh that his character communicated through him. This caused the Dean of Students to talk to Chris quote-unquote rudely and hoarsely. In retaliation, Chris stood up, cupped his hands to his side, and thrusted them forward, miming a powerful beam of energy. He shouted at the top of his lungs his personal variant of a phrase from the anime Dragon Ball Z that he legitimately believed would bring bad luck to the victim. Unsurprisingly, this did little to move Miss Welch, who declared a ban on not just his attraction sign, but the distribution of his newsletter as well. This enraged Chris to the point where he privately declared war.
Mary Walsh made it illegal to distribute the newsletter. I am very angry at that. In response, I plan for the second message and hope they demand the return of the news dash so my chances of getting a girlfriend can be restored.
Adding fuel to the fire was Mary Lee Walsh's attempts to convince Bob and Barbara to remove Chris from the college. Giving them flashbacks to their conflict with Nathaniel Green, they not only refused but became extremely upset. During summer break that year, Chris began exploring more locations to loiter at with his attraction sign. Now dubbing them attraction locations, he began standing at the Charlottesville Fashion Square Mall. This would become the testing ground of a new strategy he'd adopted after watching a lot of anime. Essentially, his plan was to attach a paper heart to a piece of red string, and then throw it at them. He would then reel the string back in, expecting them to follow. Unsurprisingly, in less than a week after conceiving the strategy, his plan was foiled when a mall security guard noticed and confiscated the string from him. This would lead Chris to coin the term jerk cop, later abbreviated to jerk op, to describe store security officers. His next run-in with mall staff occurred weeks into his loitering. This was when the same mall security guard from last time approached him, to which Chris pulled out some of his homemade trading cards that told the story of the Lonesome Virgin. He later bragged about intimidating the officer by shouting no directly in his face. Only 5 days later, Chris was approached once again, this time becoming even more belligerent. It escalated to the point of him being detained and forbidden to return from the mall without supervision from his parents. As Chris entered his 5th year at PVCC, he still held resentment towards Miss Walsh in spite of his off-campus pursuits. It was around this point Chris left an inflammatory note for the Dean of Students, expressing his dislike for her. Included was an illustration of an intimidating glare. This, as it would turn out, would be his downfall. Taking into account their previous quarrels, the message was interpreted by the school's administration as a form of harassment. After several hearings deliberating on his fate, the administration ultimately decided it'd be best to temporarily suspend Chris from the campus. Enraged by this development, Bob and Barbara decided to incite the masses themselves, allegedly penning a letter to the White House demanding action. Nothing came of their endeavors, and per the suspension, the criteria for him to return included anger management classes, a psychological evaluation, and social skills counseling. Strangely, it appeared the only reason Chris was upset about his ban was the fact he'd be using the campus as an attraction zone.
It's been over a week since my suspension. I am depressed, lonely, sad, and bored. I have nowhere to go to attract a boyfriend-free woman. I'll be writing to Santa Claus this year, hoping that he'll bring me one.
Whilst all this was going on, Chris became more invested in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, participating in his first tournament at the game place. It was there that he first met Megan Schroeder, an 18-year-old artist who shared many of the same interests as him. They quickly became friends, as she became Chris's first gal pal since leaving high school. Around this time, Chris attended the psychiatric evaluation he was required by PVCC's administration to receive. As of writing, it is the only objective, independent, professional evaluation of Christian as an adult.
Mr. Chandler is a 22-year-old man with a history of developmental delays and autism. Despite these limitations, he seems to be quite successful in maximising his academic ability. Despite his significant delays in language, he has over the years developed relatively effective communication skills. He is left, however, with a severe degree of social awkwardness and seems to have good insight into this. He is left feeling somewhat frustrated as he has a strong desire for companionship, although his social limitations prevent him from being able to realise this in the way in which he would like. He's been on antidepressants for many years and it is not entirely clear what role they play. Based on the information available at this time, the patient doesn't seem to pose a significant threat to himself or anyone else. There is some suggestion that the anger control has been a problem, although how that has manifested itself is unclear. He certainly has no history of physical violence which would suggest any future risk.
Compared to Christian's state today, this paints a picture of a man that was still, relatively speaking, at the beginning of his descent. A time when he was more lonely than in high school, but still frequently went outside and had modest social interaction at the game place. It's worth noting that the examiner concluded that Chris should receive further treatment, advice that his parents seemed to ignore. With a tumultuous home life accompanied by years of a society Chris felt he was weighed down by, the self-described virgin with rage decided to yet again pick up his pen. With all he had learned and experienced, it was at this point he would create what is now seen as his magnum opus, the Sonic Chew comics. Not only did this series become his masterpiece, but more importantly brought attention his way. While up until this point he was known only by those in his local vicinity, soon enough a little image board would stumble upon his work, and in the process make internet history, as Christian Weston Chandler becomes possibly the most notable person in the history of the World Wide Web.
Is there anything else?
Money back teleporter is small.
Like they do want to go in balance or something like that, or
Well, it's dark out now, so might not be able to see the gazebo.
That's true.
But I can point out, it's behind the house. And you know where the pen is, the green of the fence, right? See, like on the other side of the road there. You're driving down Westwood, and you look to your right. You will see a doghouse before you see
digging for dog gems for the rest of your miserable lives. As for you, this is the first and last time you will believe that news. Now, all of you, get out there and stop Spyro. There, he's on his way to the show. And if he gets here, I'll give him Spyro, you won't believe what I just got in. You won't believe it, but you will. Surrounded by violence.
Oh my god. Worst place to do that. No. Fucking move.
I guess I just refuse dragons this time. You know, I spend all my time in the water, so I don't get to see a lot of Stand guard over there and make sure nobody gets past you. If you let me down, you know. Spyro, now when you are unlimited, but cold, push him to the ice and try to find the overhead. Well, Spyro, you won't believe what I can do. You won't believe it, but you're gonna buy it. In Spyro, you can run into space time temporarily if you love this engine.
Hey, fuck yeah.
Ah, there you are, my favorite.
Perfect. God, dude.
Oh, there you are, my favorite one.
Nice.
If I'm supposed to be scared of you, I spoke to the others. From what I can make out, you're just as plain as Sally. Ah, well, prepare, young jacket, to report a lesson or two. I better do what I'm doing.
My heart's fucking pounding, dude. cool with that.
Wow, looks like your power wasn't so weak after all.
Uh-uh. Ah, that sucks. I always fuck up the easy part.
You won't believe what I just got in. You won't believe it, but you will find.
Oh, whatever. That's like a minute. I'm 5 minutes ahead, so that's okay. Fuck.
Hey, Spyro, you won't believe. Hey, Spyro, you won't believe what I just got in. You won't believe it, but you're gonna find. Ah, there you are, my.
AHT grind.
Yeah, dude.
Smiley face.
My gold there is still so bad. That fireball's scary.
Baldi's nuts.
Go ahead, Spyro. If you've got money to spend,
Okay. Okay, good. That's always so scary. Even when I'm not doing early cycle. That wasn't early cycle, by the way. Early cycle saves like 45, I think. It's really hard, though. Okay. Alright, this has gotta be a gold. No way it's not.
Ballin'!
Okay, yeah, that was clean. Go. Not nice.
There you are, my feel free to browse my fine web.
Fuck. I'll just death these. I need health for Mecha Red anyways. You people browse my fine web. And stay. Wow, not a gold? Okay. Yo, my SOB is under 120 now. this can 123. It should 123 if I play well.
Hey, don't worry. I'll be out of here as soon as I... How cozy. So, Spyro, have you returned to fight me again? And do you think I will allow you to win this time? Yeah, whatever. You're not so much of a challenge. I'm sure I can do it again. Oh, please, Spyro. You obviously don't know that I always get my way. Leave it to me, Spyro. I've got him.
Nice position. This way. Fuck yeah. Oh shit. Oh, that's awesome. So, I can still save like a minute in a Neptune. I can implement double jump with save like a minute and a half. Risky dragonfly route, save like, oh not dragonfly, cargo route, save like 45. Red wasn't amazing, but it was good. I have like a minute time save in Molten. So, holy shit.
can't read that. What does it say? What is it about pudding? It's all the same. No, it's just credits. I believe the game is over. Good. I didn't like it. There was too much talking, and the actors playing the other elders were just plain awful. Oh, sure, I would love a sandwich. Cut the cost off, would you? I didn't say anything